26th of June, 1997. It's late as I write this. I doubt it will make much sense. I'm a tad wasted, but I have to scribble it down now so that I don't forget it in the morning. Frankie's back. I saw her tonight. She was standing at the bar in Mojo's, flanked by two guys I didn't recognize, one of whom was totally lush, just saying. She had her back to me, but I knew straight away it was her. I'd know that hair anywhere. It still hung in a perfect dark glossy sheet. Doll's hair, that's what it's always reminded me of. The thick, luscious hair of a china doll. She was wearing a camel-coloured fake fur coat. At least, I hope it was fake. And long black knee-high boots, and as I watched her through the crowds, I felt that familiar twist of envy in my gut because she's even more bloody beautiful than I'd remembered. I immediately felt underdressed and dowdy in my jeans and Adidas trainers. Although they're new. They're navy blue gazelle ones that I've wanted for ages. Then she turned. Her eyes locked with mine, and her face broke out into a huge grin. She excused herself from the honeys she was with and parted the crowd towards me like a glamorous film star from the 1960s. Francesca Howe. Frankie. My best friend. And instantly, everyone else seemed to fade into the background, as if they were all in black and white and she was in colour. "Sophie! Oh my God, I can't believe it! How are you?" she shrieked, jumping up and down and waving her arms about excitedly. I think she was pissed, although it was only 8:30 p.m. She never could take her drink. She pulled me into a fierce embrace, engulfing me in the heady cloud of YSL Paris, her signature scent even when we were at school. My nose was pressed into the shoulder of her vintage fur coat. It smelt musty, of mothballs and second-hand shops. She pulled me away from her so she could survey me, holding me at arm's length. "Wow, you look so different, truly amazing," she said. And I know she was taking in my highlights, my eyebrow wax, my contact lenses. "And look how tall you are, I feel so short," she laughed. I didn't want to admit to her that I felt hefty compared to her delicate petiteness. She's as tiny as Kylie Minogue, but with huge boobs. I always was jealous of her chest at school. I'm still ironing board flat. "What has it been?" She raised a perfectly plucked eyebrow while contemplating how many years must have passed since she left our school. I remember exactly. It was 1993, 4 years ago. "That long?" she said when I told her. She'd left at the end of year 12. Her parents pulled her out of our underachieving sixth form to send her to a posh boarding school in Bristol to finish her A-levels. We'd promised to keep in touch, and we did for a while, but then her trips home became less and less frequent. In the end, I worried that my letters would seem boringly provincial and inane compared to the exciting life she was living with the Millicents and Jemimas of this world away in a big city like Bristol. How could the housing estate I lived on, still live on now that I'm back from uni, with Mum and Daniel compare to that? Eventually, the correspondence petered out, and I didn't see her again until we left school. We hung out a few times that summer, but things were a bit strained between us when I got into Warwick and Frankie had to go through clearing. She didn't say it, of course, but I knew she was thinking it should have been the other way around, what with her private education. Whereas I was the first person in my family to even go to university. I expected to see Frankie in the holidays, but she hardly came back home. I bumped into her mum once in Safeway, and she told me Frankie and some wealthy pals from her course had rented a house where they could live all year round and not just in term time. Maria had looked annoyed about it and made reference to it being Frankie's father's idea and how he was always spoiling her. I never blamed Frankie for staying away. Not really. If I'd had somewhere else to go in the holidays, I wouldn't have come back here either. Sometimes I wondered if she stayed away because coming back was too painful. It reminded her, I reminded her, of what happened with Jason when we were 16. Our friendship had never been quite the same after that summer. We'd always been able to talk about anything, and yet we were suddenly unable to talk about him, because just mentioning his name would voice the awful thing that we had done.